What's up, YouTube? It's Iowa the Boat, and we are coming with you with a Zero Attack Dante guide. So, Zero Attack Dante, this is actually a deck that is not very popular. It's because this deck hit me out of nowhere. You know, just a stroke of inspiration. I thought of using some cards together, and it actually worked out very well. This deck has a lot of great matchups, some bad ones. It is not necessarily a tier deck, like a tier 1 deck. However, I think at best it'd probably be tier 2, which is pretty good for a very non-popular deck, very roguish deck. So, without further ado, let's get straight into it. So here's the deck list, and the whole goal of the deck is, like the name we just spoke of earlier, it's zero attack. So what is zero attack? Well, in TEPPEN, unit cards have two values, their health and their attack. So what happens if the attack on a unit just reaches 0 and it keeps attacking you over and over again? Well, it just keep dealing 0 damage, right? But you don't really see that a whole lot often. But it can be very advantageous because once you see that 0 attack unit and it's your opponent's unit, that unit is not going anywhere, you know? So that is essentially becoming a dead card for the opponent. You know, there's 3 lanes in the game. So what if you could make all of your opponent's units into 0 attack? You know? Just 3 lanes with 0 attack, they effectively do nothing. What's your opponent going to do then? That is in essence the nature of this deck. We exactly bring that situation and we take advantage of it. And how do we do that? Well, let's look at all the cards that reduce damage. Swirling Bloodlust is hands down the best card to do this with. This card says that if you have 3 or more Ascension, you can use this 1 MP card to give -1 attack to all of your opponent's enemy units. By doing this, it's actually permanent. Most abilities in TEPPEN, they minus the attack, but they're very temporary. It'll say something like effective for 1 attack. The cards in our deck will not say the effective for 1 attack clause. Instead, it'll be a permanent debuff, which is why this, deck succeeds so well. So because of the nature of this card and it being the best card in our deck, we actually need to fill that requirement of 3 Ascension or more very quickly. Without doing that quickly, we will be stuck in a very hard spot with this deck. We won't be able to, get our 3 Ascension very easily unless we, go straight for it. We won't be able to play this card. It actually becomes stuck. You will not be able to play this card if you do not get that 3 Ascension off the bat. So it is very crucial to get that going for you. The next thing we have is Jury. Jury's actually in here as an Ascension unit, not for the debuff. However, the debuff can be there and can sometimes be relevant. It's kind of hard to explain, but once you see it, you'll see how you can use Jury as a debuff and how you can use her as an Ascension unit. She's more used as an Ascension unit in this deck. I do want to give a warning with the Jury card, is that if you put a unit of yours in front of a 0 attack unit and your unit has, attacks and they trade, effectively, your Jury will end up killing the enemy unit that has 0 attack. So the way that this deck is supposed to abuse the game is you actually need flight, which Jury does not have flight, other units in the deck have flight. So you never really want to have Jury as a card that challenges another unit unless, the math works out that Jury's going to die. That's why it's so complicated. but you do have the option to debuff and use her as an Ascension unit. One other note is this is the secret art variant. So there is a non-secret art variant, and it's a common rarity. I would highly recommend getting the common if you don't have this card. You do not need the secret rare. I'm just being fancy. Right. The second to last card that gives a permanent debuff is Glare. You never really see any of these cards being used, especially this one. But this one is pretty spicy. So for 3 MP, which is pretty expensive, it gives -1 attack to an enemy unit, and if a friendly unit has had the Ascended status at least once in this game, gain +1 MP. So effectively what this means is if you have at least ascended once and you play this card, you will gain 1 MP back, you know, just for playing the card. So you effectively only spent 2 MP, you know, as an investment, and it gives a -1 permanent debuff. Okay, last but not least, we have Earth Mother's Magnetism. This card was rated as the worst legendary in the Adventures of a Tiny Hero set, you know, by myself and my, you know, EX podcast members. This card is pretty crazy. For 6 MP, give -1 attack to all enemy units. For each unit affected, a random friendly unit gains +1/+1. This card is not as important in the deck. It's really only in here because of flavor, because you can give -1 attack. There's actually more than likely better cards, more mana efficient cards to play than this. But it is nice, and I will say that the -1 attack sometimes is relevant, but you definitely do not need it. That's all of the cards that give -1, but another card I do want to, you know, highlight is Revelation. Revelation, there are times where I will use this without the 4 memory, but with the 4 memory, this could make any of our action cards, you know, come back into our hand. We get to use an additional copy of it. Alright, so we've pretty much touched base on all of the cards that give minus attack, and it's kind of crazy because effectively I'm only really using 2 main cards to minus attack. That's Swirling Bloodlust, Glare, and I'm telling you, every time, every game I play, I'm able to get all of my opponent's units to 0 attack just with this, you know, this method. But how do we kill our opponent, you know? I've talked so much about reducing the attack to 0, but what about killing the opponent? Actually, we have Flight. So some of our Flight units are Pyrobat. He's just really a 4/2 Flight. He's just there. He has good stats. You have Palumu, which has Flight, Ascension, and Agility, and gives Halt in front of the, you know, Palumu for 13 seconds, the enemy unit. So another thing about this is the Ascension part. That's a key word to this deck, is Ascension. A lot of the cards in this deck have Ascension. So just being able to use these as Ascension triggers and get to your, you know, your Swirling Bloodlust is very important. But also that Flight. That Flight is what's going to win you the game. When you make your opponent's units to 0 attack and you have a Flight unit that's constantly chipping down the opponent, they will lose enough life to where they just kind of die, and they won't be able to do anything about it because they're just stuck with 0 attack. The next thing is, this is effectively another Halt for you to use, and Halts is very, you know, important in this deck, because while your opponent's unit is going to have 0 attack, when it touches your unit, it will trade. So while it's doing 0 attack to your unit's going to be dealing like 1 or 2 damage to theirs. And you definitely don't want that, because the whole point is to lock your opponent out, and if their unit dies, that's just big trouble for you. You have to deal with them playing another card and trying to reduce that damage. We also have Giant Moth. That's another unit that gains Flight after Ascension. Keyword, Ascension, and after you do the Ascension, you gain Flight. I made a mistake one game where I thought it already had Flight, and I just played it. And it cost me the game because I could have gave it Flight. I just chose not to because I thought I already had it. Another card that I want to touch on is Matier. I was really looking for Ascension fodder. So Matier is not 100% important, but she has come in handy to where I could use her to give, you know, a shield to my threat unit against like a mono red player. You know, if they're trying to deal damage to my card, I could make it a lot more difficult for them using this. I could also use this as a blocker and Ascension fodder. So just having her there in the slot is very nice. You know, I don't think I have to introduce the Crystal Hunters and the Dark Holds, but those are halts. They allow us to halt the enemy unit. Empress Derision. Uh-oh, I don't know how to pronounce this word. But this card is effectively a 2 MP negate as long as we have an Ascension unit on the field. Fabric's Memories, another negate. And last but not least, my favorite card in the game, Devil Hunter Dante. Devil Hunter Dante is a one of, but in any purple deck can be such a killer. You know? With Devil Hunter Dante, it'll transform on Resonate into Devil Trigger Dante. And this card is a 4/7 flight agility. So for, you know, just about 7 mana, you know, after paying 6 for the Dante and then paying 1 for an action, you have a really strong unit that just kind of solo carries, which is one of the things I love about Dante. One of the things I forgot to mention was the hero art. For this deck we chose Quicksilver, and the reason why we chose Quicksilver is because when we make our opponent's units attack 0, what'll happen is, you know, the other 2 lanes aren't doing anything, but we gotta focus on one lane where we're doing the flight damage and we're going over. If we Quicksilver the enemy unit that's in front of our unit, it makes it really slow for them to attack us, and it gives us double the value for our halts. Because once we halt something with Quicksilver on top of their unit that's slowed, it's kind of like halting it twice, you know? Because they made all that progress doing the attack line towards our unit, and we just reset it and make them wait longer. So it's such a great mechanic to have Quicksilver paired with this deck. And you know what? I'm going to pop the QR code here if you want to get that into your library. But we're going to head on into some gameplay. Alright, let's get into some ranked matches. One of the things I just love about any PvP game is rank. So you'll never really catch me playing free matches, unless I really have to.
You done warming up yet?
You'll make a nice test subject.
Let's focus on what our hand is right now. This is actually not a bad hand. What we really look for is the more Ascension units. I'm going to switch this out. And we didn't do any better, actually. We got the same amount.
Struggles are futile.
It looks like my opponent played in action. I will use Revelations early. And we got rewarded for that. We drew into another jury. So that gives us 2 Ascension triggers. And we just drew into another Ascension unit. So now we have our full 3.
Your struggles are futile.
It looks like our opponent is going pretty ham right there. You know, they're just kind of like playing with themselves, playing the cards that give them a bunch of MP.
For your interference.
And they're just quickly going through their deck. But I think we'll just... We can brush past this. I'm not worried at all.
Your struggles are futile.
They only have 8 cards left in their deck. I am in shock. It's okay. What I always do this in every zero attack Dante game is I wait till 9 mana and then I play all the cards. I am a little bit worried though. I might just wait. I'm actually gonna wait. Oh, okay. Alright, don't have to wait anymore. So you see right there, I just threw 3 cards on top of each other really quickly. And I just threw another one. So the reason why I did that is because... 1 second. I'll let that hit. There we go. Okay.
Sweet dreams.
So the reason why I did that all back to back is because you don't want your opponent to respond and try to kill your card.
Stand against a god.
That would be really bad. So you want to make sure that you get the 3 Ascensions ASAP, and also don't give the opening for your opponent to kill your card.
So, you're ready to play.
I'm actually going to halt top. And I'm also going to Quicksilver it. This will buy us a lot of time.
Stand still.
So like I said before, Maudie is in the deck, and she's going to block us this 3 damage. Make our Giant Moth even better. I will actually throw this bottom to trade out with the Vertigo. And we'll have to actually deal with the Vertigo again pretty shortly. But I'll wait. Yep.
Sweet dreams.
So, you're
Uh-oh.
ready to play.
That's not good. I have nothing for that. Alright, I'm having to switch up my game plan here now. Because I don't have my card that pushes damage anymore. So I'll have to wait. But the biggest threat here is the Vertigo. Maybe I shouldn't have killed the Vertigo. I didn't expect it to have the revenge ability, even though I saw it happen in front of my eyes. Alright, this is good. So we finally have Quicksilver available. So we can make the Vertigo not hurt so much. But I think I actually won't go for that. I think what I'll do is I'll do this. There we go.
Your struggles are futile.
Is that 6 mana? It is. Okay, so I have nothing for that. I'll just have to hope that he doesn't have enough to kill. He did? Oh my goodness. Jeez. Yeah, I'm gonna save my Quicksilver for their next unit. This Vertigo's almost dead.
Adios.
Yeah, this game I really had trouble focusing. Because already they're putting up a lot of pressure. It worked out pretty well for them. Alright, well, our hand is looking pretty weird.
Checkmate.
And once we play this card, it'll kill the Vertigo.
Baby.
Because the Vertigo keeps taking damage every time the opponent plays an action. And I think he's going to bring it back again.
Behold,
I think so, right?
power.
But at least now it has even less... Ooh. Oh, it wasn't Vertigo, it was Pickle Joe. But I'll take the Pickle Joe. Having Pickle Joe as an enemy threat is not that bad. There we go. Hopefully our opponent doesn't have any more shenanigans, and we should just win.
Stand still.
Got 2 halts in hand, we got a couple negates.
Preparations confirmed. You're
Shoot.
eager to play.
They gotta run out of cards at some point, right? Alright, here's to hoping. They gave up. They ran out of cards to kill our stuff. But
Talk about pathetic.
I think you saw most of the, you know, the aesthetic to this deck. Being able to just really give your opponents limited options in a game. You know, I had to make them worry about me, right? Because I neutralized everything they were doing. Let's try that again. Hopefully my opponent won't be so aggressive that I literally lost track of what I was talking about.
Let's get this over with.
Don't think I'll make this easy for you.
Giant killer challenge. This hand is not bad, but again, I like to risk it. Let's see if we can get something better. I didn't get anything better, but at least we didn't go, you know, below what we had, which was 1 ascension. I'm always looking for just the most amount of ascensions as possible. Alright. And here's the tip that I like about TEPPEN is I like to do this. You know, I like to wait and see what cards I draw, you know, when I'm playing cards, because you are, you know, someone that plays with 5 cards in your hand.
And checkmate.
However, when you play cards, you draw into new cards. That was nice. Really good timing there. Alright, so I just need one more ascension. Ooh, that's gonna hurt us.
Adios.
But that's okay. I think we might have enough time.
You're up already.
Goodness. I am scared. I think we should do this now. I know that's double halt, but the first halt we did was just a, you know, 5-second halt. I think we really need that 13 seconds. And I will do this.
Stand still.
Because that is a huge threat right now. But we're almost on our 3rd ascension. There we go. We have 3 ascension now.
There's no point.
Life is good.
Just accept your fate.
That is fine. I'm gonna let this go. The reason why I'm gonna let this go is because I want the... What is this card called? Magma Dragoon. To kill Jury before Jury kills it. Had I responded with an action, it would have been a different story. Alright, now I can do this. You know? Now the trade was like less damage, and I don't have to worry about that.
There's no point. Just
Looks like
accept your
they're
fate.
all in on that. That is fine. You know what though? I'm gonna save up. Actually, no. That was a bad idea. I forgot that this thing has anti-air. But that's alright. I'm gonna halt this.
Adios.
That halt feels really bad, but I just don't want to take 4 damage right now. Let's see. I think we should be able to get through. Alright, here we go. Let's try and reduce some of the damage we're taking here.
Adios.
What's funny is they don't even have 3 Explore,
Let's rock, baby.
so they can't
Sweet
use
dreams.
Antibody. But again, we're just neutralizing them. And then Quicksilver, the unit in front,
Stand still.
so it makes it more difficult for them to get at us. So I have to Giant Moth and Palumu here because my hand is really bad. There we go. Because right now we're losing in the DPS race. I have 10 health, they have 23. Palumu only does 2 damage per 10 seconds. Dragoon deals exactly 2 damage per 10 seconds. So I'm already in a losing fight here.
Sweet dreams.
Nice. Okay, we are lowering the damage of the Dragoon. This is very big for us. Now we have more damage. Saving the halt for the bottom lane.
Adios.
Oh, I should really use Mother of Magnetism. This was where I was talking about how Mother of Magnetism is sometimes good. And that's right now. Because that gives me exactly the -1 damage to that Dragoon. So now the Dragoon deals 0. And we have a pretty big and fast Palumu, right? So this game should be ours. Especially now that we have 2 negates in hand that are just really cheap to play.
Let's rock, baby. Sweet dreams.
And that halt really seals the
There's
deal.
no point resisting. Just accept your fate.
They're doing 2 damage to us. They're just trying to draw. That's fine. I have 2 negates.
There's no point resisting. Just accept your fate.
That's fine. I still have 2 negates. Nice.
That's all you got? Talk about pathetic.
So, like I said, this deck has good matchups and bad matchups. The best way I can explain it is most of the matchups for us are really good because not a lot of decks can deal with what we have. Some of the worst matchups we have are Raging Demon and sometimes Green. This is let's roll. Nice. Okay. We only have 1 Ascension, but I think we can work with this. I really like to save the Pyrobat for like mid to late game. It's kind of like a, oh, all my, cards died, so now I have to use Pyrobat to win the game. That's why Pyrobat is in here. But sometimes, if I don't have a choice, I'll use Pyrobat as like something to Ascension with. Like this, for example. Ooh.
Naughty, naughty.
Okay. I still want my 3 Ascension, so I will Ascend here. There we go. We have 3 Ascensions. Uh-oh. They have a lot of Resonate.
Guess I don't need to pull my punches.
I am scared.
Let's rock, baby.
Nice, we drew into a Swirling Bloodlust. This is really good for us.
Adios.
I'm going to use Quicksilver on top. Because it has the most attack right now.
Stand still.
They've gotten a lot of damage on us. I'm going to halt top because I want the 4 memory so I can get an extra card off of Revelation. That's fine. I can't use Revelation here because we still only have 3 memory. We have to wait until the action phase resolves. And then now I have my 4. I can play this without, you know, caution. Nice. We got Swirling Bloodlust again.
Adios.
There we go. We are stabilizing. Gonna do this. We didn't really draw what we needed.
Love is a game of give and take.
Uh-oh. This is bad. Senko just keeps getting bigger.
Don't disappoint me now.
Oh no. And they're gonna give it flight. This might just be a losing matchup. This is another bad matchup, I guess. When you see the resonate like that, bad matchup. I'm gonna see if I can try and trick them.
Don't disappoint me now.
Don't know if it'll work. Let's see if I can try and trick them. Okay, so they have 4 health. And then if I block with Pyrobat, it's an instant kill. Nice! Made them miss it. So we tricked them. That was great. I need to draw cards. Nice, okay. We halt the Ibuki, and now I have Swirling Bloodlust again. We'll wait for them to play another unit, I think. Let's do... Yeah, I think I'm gonna do this, and then Palumi top.
Let's rock.
There we go. It kind of forces them to play another unit.
Don't disappoint me.
Another thing about the purple matchup is I have to really be wary about negates. So, I'm gonna play this. They probably have the negate. They don't. You know, in hindsight, that was actually a bad play. Because I forgot that the unit in front, I almost like never kill. Just ever. They have the negate, I also have negate. Yeah, I should have saved it, but it's okay. You know.
Stand still.
Try harder.
I'll negate that. That's 3 damage on agility. That's too much.
Don't disappoint me now.
It's fine. I'll keep reducing the damage. Yeah, had I saved that glare instead of doing it on top, that Ibuki bottom would be 0 attack right now. But I actually don't think it mattered.
Don't disappoint me now.
That's hilarious. It'll be a long time before that Ibuki kills anything. Or dies.
Stand still.
I would have gave the flight to bottom if I was the enemy player. Because then bot would die. And then they could play more cards.
Don't disappoint me
Uh-oh.
now.
Looks like they'll get their wish. Alright, so I have to backup plan this. I'm going to either have to use Double Hunter Dante here, or use Earth Mother's Magnetism to close out the game. But I'm not in any type of rush right now, so I'll just wait.
Don't disappoint me now.
That's fine. I think we're gonna do this.
Sweet dreams.
Save Dante for later. They have the negate, that's fine. This just means that we really do have to get Dante out there. You know, the next biggest thing here is that, ooh, we got a negate. That's pretty cool. Is we actually have lower health, so we gotta finish out with more health this game. Otherwise, we just lose.
Just relax.
Ooh, that was bad on their
All
part.
I
They got
want is
itchy.
everything.
So now my Dante can go in. Oh, but they had the halt. I'm debating whether I want to negate this, and I don't think I do. I think we'll wait for them to have like a more threatening card. This is a really interesting, you know, amount of cards. Just wait and see. Okay.
Stand still.
Try harder.
That's fine. I think we have the tools. The negates, I have a negate in hand, and the negate we're looking for is...
Don't disappoint me now.
That's fine. I'm gonna go ahead and halt here. It's not really a huge difference whether I, you know, wait to halt later or not. That I have to negate. We can't let it have flight. If it has flight, it'll be impossible for me to break through. I gotta make sure I hit them in their life points, otherwise I will not win this game.
Just relax. All I want is everything.
This is one of the difficult parts of playing against Temptation Morgan, is that they get to do that a lot. So I have to deal with that one more time. But depending on how time works out, I think we should be okay. I'm honestly just being hopeful. Sure. I actually think I lost. Even though we made a very valiant effort, I think we lost.
Just relax. All I want is everything.
Alright, so I'm gonna kill the Dante.
Try harder.
They still have halts. I'm surprised, kind of. Debating whether I'm pretty sure I just lose. We'll do this. There's no way I'm dealing 12 damage in like 30 seconds.
Try harder.
Oh, and they have Monstrous Virus, which is a card that says that they don't take any damage for the last 30 seconds. Well, that was a pretty fun game, you know? Resonate is pretty difficult to beat. Just any Resonate, it doesn't have to be purple either. It could be like, purple-black Resonate, it could be green Charge Shot, you know, just gaining a bunch of attack. That's a really huge weakness to this deck. It's because we can't really deal with it when they have multiples of them, but if they have like one unit, we can deal with it. Just like the Hasenko right here. The Hasenko there was very manageable. But yeah, that pretty much gives you a taste of like what really cool stuff that we have going on, and some of our weak matchups. I'm glad we got to get a great taste of everything in this video. well, some closing tips. I feel like we got to most of it, really. You know, at the beginning of the game, like always, you want to make sure that you get the most ascension as possible, as soon as possible, because that makes this active and allows you to reduce the attack. One thing I want to touch up on that we saw in the last game we just played actually was when I just kept talking about that glare that I use in front of my unit threat, my Palumu. So my Palumu was attacking the enemy player. They had the Ibuki in front of it. So this is really important for all of you zero attack players to know, is that any unit that's in front of our threat unit does not matter. The reason why it doesn't matter is because the way we neutralize that unit is we Quicksilver it and we halt it. So the attack value on the unit in front of our threat unit is like never relevant. So using glare, on top of it, it's actually a huge waste, because you could be using it on other stuff. Like, at the end of our last game, there was the Ibuki and she had one attack. I could have used the glare on her and not have to worry about that. But, mistakes happen. With the negates are really hard to use in TEPPEN, especially if you don't know the matchups or what possibilities are out there. And even the good players, they will, mess up by, trying to play the negate on something that they think is threatening, but then something even worse comes out. And that happens all the time. But just kind of, practice. And the question I want you to ask yourself is the card that they are playing going to make me lose the game? Or is it bad for me, Even if it's bad for you, some things are just livable, right? Like if they're going to deal you 7 damage but it doesn't kill you, you're fine. You're not dead, you have health. But if it's a card that's like, oh, I'm going to give my unit flight so it kills your flight unit, then that's obviously something you want to negate. That's why I negated the hook shot by our opponent, in the last game. And it worked out pretty well. It's just that our opponent just kept having more cards to deal with our strategy. Revelation again, don't be too scared to play this card. Even though there is the 4 memory mechanic, sometimes you just have to draw. And again, Jury is not at all a card that we use to kill our opponent. She's just Ascension fodder. And it's very rare that we actually get to use the -1 attack to full value. But it's possible. Giant Moth again does not inherently have flight. I've lost a game where I thought it had flight and just played it by itself. I actually could have gave it flight, I just didn't know. So flight is huge. Another final tip I'll give is, how does Quicksilver work? Because Quicksilver is actually a very unique ability that not a lot of players know. And that's, slowing down the opponent, and then it says a unit cannot counter. So what does that mean? So when a unit is slowed, the attack line is actually slowed down by 100%, meaning it takes twice as long for that unit to attack. Not only that, but they also have an ability now that says cannot counter. Cannot counter means that when your unit is attacking, our unit, like the Palumu, is attacking their Quicksilvered unit, their unit cannot do any counter damage to our unit. So effectively it's a one-sided trade. Our Palumu deals 1 damage to them, and then their unit deals 0 damage to us, regardless of how much attack it actually has. And last but not least, you know, would I change anything about this deck, or do I see any rooms where you can change cards out? I think everything is staple except for the Pyrobat. You know, it's a good card, but if you needed to change it for something else, go for it. And Earth Mother's Magnetism. Like, those cards are just really flavor and just very flashy. Well, that's all for this video. Thank you for, you know, watching this guide to Zero Attack Dante. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe the YouTube channel. I'm hoping to bring out more content to YouTube. Thank you.